Hi everybody, Keith here. Recently I spoke about your energetic architecture, and what I meant by that was that you have a frequency, you have a vibration, and you have resonance, and each of those three have a different meaning. Frequency is how you feel. Vibration is what you emit, and resonance is how people feel when they're around you. But it starts with frequency. And so the question I've got for you is, what are you doing to lift your frequency, to raise it up, to shift it to another level? I was thinking about this morning on my walk, and I thought, what lifts up my frequency? And there's little things that do that, there's big things that do that. And to give you a couple of examples, if I hole a long putt at golf, that lifts my frequency. If I hit a golf ball down the middle of the fairway, which is few and far between, that lifts my frequency. I tell you what lifts my frequency is when my daughter comes to me yesterday and has got a bit of a challenge, and we sit down and we have a conversation, and she seeks out my advice or counsel. That lifts my frequency. My frequency lifts when I get a chance to share my ideas, insights and wisdom with audiences. But what really lifts my frequency is that I know that I've made a difference. And that's often from an email I get, or run into somebody at an airport or at a conference, say, oh, I saw you 2 years ago and you said A, B and C, and I went away and did E, D and F, and it's had this impact on my life that I'm now doing X, Y, Z. That lifts my frequency. And so the question I've got for you is, what are you doing to lift your frequency, so that when people are around you, they resonate with you, and so that you can change an environment just by walking into it? What are you doing to shift your frequency? You have to be deliberate about this. You just can't let it happen. You have to think a little bit about what it is. For me, my frequency is built around authenticity, and my definition of authenticity for me is that I want to be grateful. And in other words, I'm learning from all the different things that happen to me, good, bad, in particular things that don't go well. I'm looking for abundance, and that is an abundance of mindset, to being generous and to get away from comparison. And I'm looking for joy. And I think if you look at frequency, the question you want to ask yourself is, what gives you the greatest amount of joy? And in doing those things, your frequency lifts. But you have to be the dictator of building and lifting and creating the frequency that you want. You can't go the effect of environments. You have to be, and that's an easy thing to say, but what you've got to do is to be able to have that ability to, if something is not right in an environment, to say, how do I shift my frequency and how I deal with this? So just a few thoughts to have today about adding on to your energetic architecture and starting to think about the frequency that you want to create, and more importantly, you want to project. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Keith Abraham. Bye for now.